After surgery, my sister said I wasn't doing anything anyway, and left her kids with me. I made her an invoice. She jetted off to Japan while I healed with heating pads and toddler tantrums. 10 years of small favors had piled up, but this time I kept score. When she came home to open gifts, I handed her something else: proof, paper, and a quiet kind of justice. 6 days after abdominal surgery, I was finally learning how to lie still. Not rest, just the practice of not doing. No laundry, no emails, no catching up on squad car paperwork. My doctor's orders were clear: bed, fluids, healing. I'd even turned my phone to silent, something I never do. That lasted until 9:13 a.m., when my sister Maddie's name lit up the screen. "Hey," she chirped. "So I'm heading to Tokyo tonight. You good with the boys and Liv?" I blinked at the ceiling. "What?" "Mom said she thought you'd be up for it. You're not doing anything anyway, right?" That phrase, "you're not doing anything anyway," hit like a slap. Like pain meds wearing off mid-step. I pushed up onto my elbows, a mistake my abdomen punished instantly. "Wait, Maddie," I said slowly. "Are you saying you're flying to Japan today?" "Yeah. I told you I was thinking about it, remember? The Harry Potter Museum just opened and flights were cheap." She was talking fast, like speeding through a yellow light. "I already dropped your name at the school so they know you're doing pickup and emergency contact. Super easy, just snacks, screen time, bedtime." I didn't say anything. She barreled on. "You're off work for another week, right? And you're single, so it's not like you've got other plans." There it was. The old logic. My lack of a wife, kids, or New Year's cruise apparently made me fair game for emergency childcare. Maddie had used this same tone when asking me to help her move, 5 times, or when she forgot rent and I covered the difference. A ping hit my phone. Then another. First from Mom. "Mad said she asked you about the kids? You're such a gift, sweetheart." Then Dad, "We know you're not feeling 100%, but this means a lot to your sister." The manipulation came gift wrapped in praise and assumption. No one had actually asked me. Not really. I smiled, not wide or angry. Just that flat, controlled smile I wear on the job when someone calls me just a rent-a-cop. I didn't argue. Arguing never worked with Maddie. I said, "Okay." She exhaled, giddy. "You're the best, Sam. I'll drop them by around noon." I hung up before she could add a packing list or her flight number. Then I sat back and took a breath that hurt in all the wrong places. I wasn't angry, not in the way I used to be. No tight throat, no clenching jaw. Just a tired, familiar weight pressing on my chest. This wasn't the first time Maddie had decided what I owed her, and it wouldn't be the last. But for the first time, I wasn't going to let it slide under the rug and fester. I got out of bed. Slowly. Carefully. I lined up my pain meds, checked my heating pad, and opened my notes app. The file title: Christmas Recalibration. If I was going to be the babysitter, chauffeur, cook, and de facto parent while recovering from surgery, she was going to get something in return. Accountability. No yelling. No drama. Just numbers, timelines, receipts. Because if Maddie wanted to treat me like the help, then this holiday, I'd deliver the invoice. I kept the house dim during the day, mostly to avoid headaches, partly because the shadows made it easier to focus. The kids had been here 2 nights. Max, the oldest at 9, had taken to waking me up at 6:12 sharp to ask about eggs. Olivia, age 5, screamed every time the vacuum ran. And Theo, the toddler, had made it his life's work to unplug anything with a charger. In the rare quiet moments, I opened my phone and worked the file. The Christmas Recalibration doc became 3 tabs. Tab 1. Holiday Budget. Tab 2. Childcare Hours. Tab 3. Loan Ledger Maddie. It wasn't revenge. It was relief. For years, I'd absorbed her requests like raindrops on concrete. I'd Venmo'd her. Just until Friday. Paid for the surprise dental bill, picked up the kids from school when she had a work thing that turned out to be a Tinder date. I never said no, but I never said yes either. It all just happened. And now, recovering from surgery with 2 heating pads on rotation, I had time to sort the wreckage. I scrolled through bank statements, flagged every auto transfer to her account. $70 here. $250 there. Aftercare charges tied to my card, never reimbursed. Amazon orders that said, "Thank you, Uncle Sam," on Instagram, but no one asked me to pay for them. A decade of small asks layered into one exhausting truth. I wasn't just the family helper. I was the backup plan they never acknowledged. And my parents, they weren't neutral. Mom had replied to Maddie's vacation photo with, "Brave mama. Living your truth." Dad had liked a reel of Maddie spinning in front of Mount Fuji with the caption, "Solo but not alone." They never asked if I was sleeping, or how I was managing with 3 kids and a healing gut that made it hard to stand for long stretches. I clicked open a draft and started typing my own rules. Boundaries, effective immediately. I will not be listed as payer or contact without direct consent. I will not fund magic, surprise trips, unplanned purchases for others. Misuse of my accounts equals financial fraud. Assistance equals conditional, scheduled, and confirmed. Emotional leverage is no longer currency here. I stared at the list. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even that long. But it felt like I'd drawn a line in permanent ink, one Maddie wouldn't be able to erase with emojis or nostalgia. That night, after the kids were asleep, I opened my laptop and backed everything up. Then I printed it. Black ink on white paper. Clean, dated, and ready. There was no confrontation yet. No explosion. Just a folder on the table beside the Advil, waiting for Christmas Eve. This wasn't about drama. It was about the truth. And finally, I was ready to deliver it. By day 4, the kids had settled into a rhythm, and so had I. It was a strange coexistence, exhaustion layered with moments of grace. Max made the eggs now. Olivia stopped screaming at the vacuum once I let her fight it with a wooden spoon. Theo still unplugged everything, but at least he brought me the cords afterward like peace offerings. I healed slowly. Ice packs rotated with heating pads. My insides felt like someone had packed them in bubble wrap and kicked them around a warehouse. Still, I moved. Gently. I kept the rules taped to the fridge and the document open on my phone. Then Maddie started posting. I watched the kids eat breakfast while her latest video played on mute, her twirling in a Diagon Alley replica, wand in hand, captioned, "Solo travel mama. I earned this. Sparkles dizzy black heart." The likes climbed into the thousands. Another clip, Maddie laughing in front of a ramen shop. "When you've got no man, no babysitter, but still make it happen." Theo sat in my lap during a FaceTime call from her. She was standing in a gift shop full of plush owls. "Look at all this cute stuff," she squealed. "Should I get Liv the Hedwig robe or the broom?" "Neither," I said. "Stick to what you budgeted." She blinked. "You're grumpy." "I'm post-op. And parenting your kids." She laughed like I told a joke, then blew kisses and ended the call. Later that night, another message pinged through. "Maddie. Hey, can you pick us up from the airport Tuesday morning? Our flight lands at 6:10. Not. Would you be able? Not. Can I arrange a ride? Just the assumption. Again. I wrote back 2 words. Can't. Healing. She replied with a thumbs down emoji and then. You could have asked Jamie. That was rich. Jamie, our cousin, hadn't even been on the group text about this whole babysitting plan. Maddie never asked Jamie. She asked me, the one with the spare room and the supposedly spare life. I didn't answer. Instead, I poured a cup of tea, added the new screenshots to my growing file, and reviewed the folder now labeled Holiday Documentation, Final. The bank transfers were now charted by year. The Venmo receipts had captions. The unauthorized uses of my name as emergency contact or credit card holder had timestamps. I wasn't going to read this out loud at Christmas like some courtroom drama. I was going to present it. Calmly. Completely. With the poise of someone who no longer cared whether he was called mean for not enabling self-delusion. The location, Mom's house. The time, Christmas Eve, after dinner, before gifts. The objective, not to punish, not to shame, but to draw a line. I'd spent years absorbing the belief that love meant saying yes. That being reliable meant being quiet. This year, the silence broke. The boys were asleep when I circled the date on my calendar. Olivia had curled up on the couch with one of my flannels. Theo had finally fallen asleep on my chest. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't even really about them. This was about Maddie. About the patterns. About the myth that I had nothing better to do than hold the whole system together. This Christmas, I'd be giving my sister something she'd never received before. A mirror. And the bill. Mom's house on Christmas Eve looked like a postcard, glossy and soft around the edges. White lights blinked from the mantel. A cinnamon candle burned too strong. Dad wore his Santa's co-pilot apron and sliced ham with flair. Maddie swept in just before dinner, cheeks flushed, suitcase in tow, wearing a velvet blazer like she'd stepped off a holiday rom-com set. Jet lag is fake, she announced, collapsing onto the couch. I slept the whole flight. I'm golden. The kids ran to her like puppies. I watched from the corner, sipping water and breathing through the pinch in my side. My stitches itched. My fuse didn't. After dinner, once dessert was plated and the gifts were still stacked and untouched, she handed me a tiny red box. For you, she said, grinning. Open it. Inside was a silver airplane charm on a chain. Because you're my runway. You kept everything safe while I flew. I stared at it. Polished. Thoughtful. So on brand. And yet, still about her. That's cute, I said, setting it down gently. Speaking of flights. Her smile dimmed. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. I placed it on the coffee table, right between the cheesecake and the decorative napkins. What's that? Mom asked. Receipts, I said. Documentation. From the last 10 years of just small things. Dad chuckled awkwardly. Come on, Sam. It's Christmas. That's why I waited until after ham. Maddie shifted. Are you seriously doing this now? I am. I opened the folder and slid out 4 pages. First, a spreadsheet of child-related expenses from just the last 3 months. Next, a summary of Venmo loans and unpaid transfers dating back to 2015. Then a list of unauthorized listings, schools, doctors' offices, even an Uber account once tied to my card. The last page was a simple printout. My boundaries going forward. Mom sucked in a breath. This feels dramatic. No, I said, calm as I'd ever been. It feels clear. Maddie laughed, but it cracked at the edges. You're making a scene over groceries and babysitting. I locked eyes with her. You left your kids with me 6 days after abdominal surgery and called it a favor to you. You listed me as emergency contact without asking. You've built a life that assumes I'll catch the parts you drop. It's family, she said, voice sharper now. That's what we do. No, I said, laying down the final page. That's what I've done. Alone. Quietly. Consistently. And now I'm done doing it without consent. Mom reached for the papers. Honey, we don't need all this. Can't we just talk? We never just talk. You send me texts after decisions are made. That's not a conversation, it's delegation. Dad muttered something about timing. Maddie rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might tip over. Here are the rules, I said, and read from the page. 1. No more listing me as payer or contact without consent. 2. I don't fund magic. 3. Misuse equals fraud. 4. I will offer help only when asked and agreed upon. 5. Emotional pressure doesn't work on me anymore. Silence followed. Even the kids went quiet. You're seriously making rules? Maddie asked, voice brittle. I'm setting boundaries, I said. For the first time. She scoffed. You sound like your therapist. Good, I said. She's excellent. Nobody said thank you. Nobody apologized. But nobody tore up the papers either. I leaned back, took a slow breath, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the servant in someone else's kingdom. I felt like the adult in the room. The quiet after I finished speaking was dense, like walking into a room where something just exploded but no one wanted to admit it. Maddie sat stiffly, flipping through the printed pages like she was looking for a loophole. Mom wiped her eyes, not crying but prepping to. Dad busied himself with collecting dessert plates no one had touched. Then Jamie spoke. She was perched on the arm of the couch, nearly invisible until now. She cleared her throat. Honestly, it's about time someone said it. Maddie glared. Excuse me? You heard me, Jamie said calmly. If Sam's the bank, I'm the ATM fee. I've been watching this for years. Mom turned toward her. Jamie, sweetheart, this isn't about you. It is, actually. She interrupted. Because I stopped offering help 2 years ago, and you all stopped calling me. You only show up when someone's willing to carry the weight. Maddie laughed bitterly. So what, we're all leeches now? No, I said steady. You're capable. You're just used to acting like you're not because it works. Dad finally spoke up. Look. We did our best, okay? Things were different when you were growing up. You expect too much now. I turned to him. I don't expect perfection. I expect accountability. There's a difference. Mom sniffed. We never asked you to do all this. No, you just let Maddie decide what I was doing and backed her up every time I pushed back. That's not nothing. Maddie was flipping through the spreadsheet now, slower this time. I could see the shift happening, not understanding, not yet. But confusion softening into discomfort. Her fingers stopped at the line marked School Lunch Autopay, 19 charges. She looked up. You kept all of this? I did, I said. Because memory gets rewritten in this family. But paper doesn't lie. She sat back. The bravado cracked, not fully, just a flicker of something that looked almost like fear. I stood, moved to the coffee table, and laid down one more envelope. What's that? She asked warily. Resources. Counseling. Legal aid. Rent relief programs. After-school care lists. You need support? Here. You want me to help again in the future? These are the steps. Her mouth parted slightly. This, I said, is me giving you tools, not a bailout. She looked at the envelope, then at me. You think I can't handle my life? I think you should. She didn't respond. But she didn't walk out either. Jamie raised her glass. To weird Christmases and people finally saying the hard stuff. No one laughed, but Mom sat down, and Dad didn't argue. Olivia climbed onto my lap and fell asleep without asking. Max pulled a book from his backpack and leaned against my side. The air hadn't cleared, but it had shifted. Like a house with the windows finally open after years of mold. I handed Maddie her keys, her actual keys, which I'd pulled from my junk drawer earlier. They'd been on my spare hook since 2019. From now on, I said, you're the adult in your house. Not me. She took them. She didn't say thank you. But she didn't throw them back. The morning after Christmas was quiet, still, and mine. No kids thudding down the hallway. No FaceTime alarms or school emails with my name autofilled. Just pancakes for one, black coffee, and a heating pad on low. I sat in the silence, legs up, flipping through a hardware catalog. Not because I needed anything. Because I finally had time to want something again. The kids had gone home with Maddie late last night. There'd been no hugs goodbye, just sleepy yawns and a mumbled, thanks. And honestly, that was fine. By New Year's, the first ping came in. Maddie, so. I made a therapy appointment. January 8th. No idea if it'll help. But I'm trying. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit for a day. Then I replied, that's a good step. Let me know if you need someone to watch the kids during the session, with notice. She hearted the message. That was it. No overcorrection. No sobbing voicemail. No backpedal wrapped in praise. Next came an email, a rough, slightly messy budget spreadsheet, hers. The numbers weren't perfect. But they were hers. No hidden columns for Sam's help, this time. Then, something I never expected. A text from Mom. What's the word you used? Parentification? I looked it up. That one hit deep. Not because it fixed anything, but because it was the first sign she was willing to name what we'd all tiptoed around for decades. In mid-January, Maddie tested the fence. She listed me again as school pickup for Theo without asking. My phone buzzed with the notification. I didn't argue. I didn't spiral. I just called the school and asked to be removed from all accounts until otherwise confirmed. Then I texted Maddie. This was a boundary. I'm holding it. She sent back okay. Sorry. I'll fix it. Short. Uneasy. But still, I'll fix it. For once, I didn't feel like the villain for asking not to be used. The healing wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Like scar tissue forming where something used to bleed. I kept the folder in my drawer, not because I needed it anymore, but because it reminded me of the line I'd drawn, and what it cost to finally do it. When the kids asked if I'd come to career day at school, I didn't say yes. I said, only if Mom confirms it's okay and it works with my shift. Max nodded. Olivia asked if I'd wear the uniform. Theo wanted pancakes after. I said we'd see. And meant it. Not, yes, of course. Not, I'll make it work. Just we'll see, because support given freely only counts when it's mine to give. I changed the oil in my car that weekend. Bought new tires. Researched a woodworking class. Booked a solo cabin weekend for late February. No apologies. No debates. Just space to live my own life without 1,000 invisible strings pulling me towards someone else's chaos. It wasn't a picture-perfect ending. It wasn't even happy. But it was honest. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like Christmas.